always surprise us. The first 2 games so far today have kind of gone in maybe the direction that they'd be expected, I think, but this one for me is going to be one of the games of the day. G2 versus M80. The real theme that I've picked up on there from Jack and Leo particularly is, look, we don't know exactly what to expect from these 2 teams. We've got roster changes on one side, we've got IGL changes on the other, and let's be honest, kind of up and down form for G2. Who knows what we're going to get?
And in the middle of all that, if you're just here for a little bit of beef, you've got Alamal facing off against Bodega as well. These 2 are always at each other's throats. It's amazing to watch. They've already been given it large, as you saw on the cameras earlier on. But if nothing else, when I was speaking to Bodega the other day, he was saying, like, I think my record against Alamal is like 13-2. I am just so in his head. And I'm just like, well, it's a bit of a different field now. You've got 3 new players, a lot of change. That can definitely bring the surprise factor to the game and catch G2 off guard if they're not careful. But equally, let's not ignore G2. They spent New Year together. They got all of them over towards Finland, had a good week or so together for team bonding. And when I asked them why that was, the answer came back to, look, 6 days a week of scrims can get quite stressful. You can get at each other. It's very intense. So having that time to actually bond as a team is really, really important. So they're coming in here fully fresh off LCQ victories. They're feeling that this can be their tournament. They can do really, really well. But their first roadblock is going to be M80. The unknown factor. Let's see which team comes out on top.
Operator bans have come in. Not too much to talk about there, to be honest with you, Des. Pretty much as expected. Dokkaebi, Monte, you know, yeah, you're going to see plenty of those bans throughout the next couple of weeks. Kaid makes perfect sense for Bank. It's about allowing access to those hatches, making sure you've got that bit of verticality, the only bit that you can gain down into the basement site. And then Valkyrie as well. Valkyrie can be a nightmare on Bank. There's so many little hiding places for those cameras, so we just see that intel removed as well. So pretty much standard bans, I would say. Nothing too wild before these 2 get into it. I think we've just got a little bit of a rehost that's going to be... Would it be day 1, Des?
No.
Without the odd little tech rehost?
No. It's just a guarantee. It's a fact of life. Death, taxes, and rehosts on day 1.
So true. So true.
I mean, we speak about those bans a little bit further as well, because for me, looking at the ban out of M80, the Dokkaebi, like, we know she's very powerful. Yeah, has been for a long time. I think this is probably the acknowledgement towards Alamal being quite a Dokkaebi player as well, taking that away. The Monty from G2 coming as a surprise, because I would have thought that's exactly what he would then default to playing if they didn't have something like the Dokkaebi on side.
I think we're going to see a slightly different game coming out of Alamal now, as we would expect. He's moved away from RGL, and it's been quite a long time since we've really seen him, you know, without those, if we want to call them chains, you know, without those chains of having that responsibility of monitoring everything else that's going on, you know, now just being able to focus on your own game. Let's not forget about the Alamal that was on Team 1 back in the day. You know, this is one of the best smoke players that we've probably seen inside of Siege, inside of the game. Mechanically fantastic, and it's maybe not something that we've always seen from him. He's had his moments, don't get me wrong, but, you know, throughout his time RGLing, and maybe it just gives him that little bit more freedom as well, and we're going to see him roll back the years.
You know what really terrifies me, and to go back to numbers here, if you look back through all of 2024, Alamal was the highest rated non-BDS player.
Yeah.
Like, it's just that kind in EU.
He's very good.
Like, he's to be the second best player in the region across the whole of last year whilst IGLing for most of it. It's terrifying what he's going to come up against. But on the other side, you've got Spoit, who's a superstar in his own right. Yes, of course, M80, NA team had to take an EU player, but he was straight up there as well across the second half of 2024. He was the second best rated player from all major regions. The only player that came above him was Volps, who, of course, we'll see play a little bit later on today. It's going to be exciting, Tim. We get all the superstars in our games, this one and the last game of the day. But the thing is, I think as we've already seen, and as we've been speaking about for the last, few weeks, really, this feels like a really competitive SI where so many high talent players are here. There's probably 10 different teams that I've heard that people have said, oh, they could go on to win this. And these aren't just random people saying it. It's coaches of teams at the tournament with 10 different names. It's brilliant.
Just while we're looking at the player cams as well, I'm going to mention them new G2 jerseys. Wow.
They're nice, aren't they?
They are nice. They've taken a move away from the sort of historic G2 black jerseys, black and silver usually. But yeah, very. It's kind of got a 90s football kind of vibe to it.
Yeah,
with
it
the
does.
Collar and similar. I think BDS had one similar as well last year. So yeah,
it's like the jacket that Uno's wearing. It's proper like football player sort of vibes. I love it.
It's proper got a bit of a 90s vibe to it. I like it.
It is excellent indeed. As you see there, we are working through the issue. All our players are back in the lobby, as we can see on our monitor over on the left, so should be able to get things back underway in just a moment. As a reminder, in case you are just jumping in, we've got Bank to chew our way through first and foremost. A map that we've already said, you know, looking back at history for G2, it's one of the ones they prefer to go to. If you look back at M80 through history, and of course you can't really reference too many historic stats from M80, it's 3 new players. It is basically a new team at this point. They're 0-4 on it in the last 6 months. They do not like this map. They'll play it, but they don't seem to do very well on it, and that is a problem for them. So I think G2 are kind of saying, look, we know Bodega's not going to change his strats massively. We know there are 2 players on this team that aren't super keen at this map anyway. That's why I want to jump into it and really try and turn the screws on this M80 side and start off with a win on that first map, because as the analyst said earlier today, every map counts. You get the 2-0, you get 4 points. Anything worse than that, and you start dropping points to the other side, and that can all stack up given how close some of these groups are.
Let's get into it then. Round 1, it's going to be a basement defense from M80 to kick things off. Now, without the Cade on side, we're going to see Gunnar bringing along the Tubarão. Not to say we wouldn't have seen that if the Cade was available, but it is going to offer at least an avenue to keep those hatches closed a little bit. It's just going to at least burn some time, if nothing else. That's what we're going to be looking at Gunnar doing most likely. I don't know exactly where he's going to start. He's up on the mid floor at the minute. He may be the one that they choose to play inside of open, behind these castles, with that late drop down through the hatch. We'll see. You know, we know that Gunnar's got absolute, you know, skill and kills for days.
G2 coming out with a set piece in round 1. You look at the operator lineup and I see the backstab coming out from Blaz through Garage. I'm looking in towards, of course, the Glass coming along. You've got the Ossa on side. They want to go for an execute behind smoke here. It's clear as day. M80, of course, don't really know that. They are quite dug in with the comp they've got. I'm looking at the Azami and the castle, and it just screams making this site into a fortress and not giving any room for G2 to start exploring in. Smoke will definitely make it easier, and Alamar's looking for a first cheeky little pick. A nice long angle, almost finds his man, but just a little bit too slow on the trigger.
Just a little bit too slow, as you say. Packer getting away with that there. Just having a little look out and not quite able to find his man. We've got Kino locked in the standard smoke position on the blue stairs there. He's just going to be trying to play his life. He'll be there for as long as possible. And you can see here, G2 meeting so much resistance, they've decided to go elsewhere.
Well, this is okay, because while they're soaking attention down here through dirt, you've got the top floor being pushed in by Blaz. As mentioned, I thought he might go through Garage instead, but instead, he's the roam clear for them, ensuring everyone actually is down on site. And for the most part, they are. There's 1 or 2 that have been lurking around. Diffusers you saw a second ago, and here comes the potential pinch. Loira rounding in towards his man. It's quite crucial that Loira stays alive. He's got 2 of the team's 3 smokes in back pocket. Sure enough, lives and gets a second as well. And there's 2 Euromas completely deleted off. And the thing is now, G2 know they've already seen resistance downstairs. Very good chance the remaining 3 players are all down on site, and you've got half a round still to play with.
Yeah, the 2 new boys taken from M80, but Spoit and Kino, they have answers. Questions have been asked, and they respond in kind, picking up Uno and Doki, leaving us now 3 versus 3. The time is at least on the side of G2 as Blast manages to pick up 1, but he can't find a second. Spoit is going to be there for the trade, and that's just going to remove that main stairs angle that G2 were looking for as well. So 2 versus 2, but as I was saying, they still have the time. They can sit back a little bit here. Alamo can get on the drone, have a look through, and start to come up with a plan.
There's no smokes left for Kino. There are 3 smokes in the back pocket of G2, and they've still got the Glaz on side. If they play this carefully, and with a minute to go, you would expect they would. They've got all the tools to make a plan play work here, but it's all going to come down to Alamau. Spoit has been rock solid so far, dug inside the site, taking down 2 players, and removing any backstab threat. This now gets really, really simple. Who hits the shot onto the Glaz, or who does the Glaz take out first?
Out goes the smoke canisters, and that's going to allow Alamo to have a peek around this corner. And M80 are very aware here it's a Glaz they're up against. They really don't want to expose themselves because they know how easy it could be. But Alamo, again, missing a couple of shots, a couple of opportunities. But the diffuser does go down nonetheless, and they've got the Talon shield to play behind. This just got extremely difficult. Loira comes in my notes before this game, I had Loira in capitals, in bold. How is he going to do at this tournament? And he's just introduced himself in a huge way in round 1.
I think he was probably a lot of pressure was heaped on Loira when he first joined this team, and it was like, okay, he's not shining, he's not immediately a star player for this team, like how dare he? And the problem is that's the expectation that carries with joining a team like G2, as you're expected to be on it from day 1. But you look at the LCQ and how much he's warmed into things. There are a lot of people looking at Lair and saying this is going to be his tournament to explode. It does then push questions over towards the other side of the newbies on the team, in Blaz, and what he can do. Although he's got himself a kill there, he's given that backstab threat. He's cleared the top floor, he's then got himself down marble, started putting pressure on, got a kill for himself too. Done all you can really ask there, but I love how there were just so many elements of that game. It all started inside a server, it ended inside a server, and it was Lair who got the 2K up on the first floor, then joined this execute in the 2 versus 2 and played it beautifully. Really well played by G2, but M80, I think at least, showing they are not going to give large parts of the map for free to G2. They are going to fight them for it, and they are going to go aggressive on you when you least expect it. So G2 have got to be careful here. M80 may well catch them out at some point.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds obvious, but it's going to be about winning those fights, is the reality. They didn't do it. Gunnar and Diffuser, they're up there. We know the sort of capability. You know, I picked up on Gunnar at the beginning of the round. We know that they can really find those kills. They are two great players, but Lair just had their number, and if that continues to happen, then M80, they may have to reassess that strategy of trying to play the map if they continue to be punished out there.
All right, well, now we are at this top floor, and I won't quite call it set-piece play, but you've got the Capitao on side here from Blaz. Very, very effective on this site. The 2 smokes in back pocket, as well as the fire to stop defenders rotating around, really helps set things up for you quite comfortably. But that's where you've got Paka sitting on the Clash. He doesn't really care about the smoke. He'll be able to push his way through and cause a little bit of bother if you try and make a plant happen inside a site. So G2, they know that's going to be a problem for them to try and work through. And Doki, of course, being on the Deimos, I'm looking there towards the vertical destruction. I think it was Penga who once famously said Doki is not a window player, and the point was then proved 3 seconds later with a nade that killed both him and Alamau. Not the best times, of course, for Doki. However, nades no longer cut them, so that won't be happening anytime soon. But I would like to see at some point him maybe looking to get underneath and make use of that tracker to force these players to move in tandem alongside the Capitao.
The Bees are going to go in quite early there, and that's going to just prevent a little bit of movement. Gunnar doesn't mind, though, manages to find Lair. However, Blaz is there on a little backstab, manages to down the Azami as well. So effectively 4 versus 3, the kill is confirmed. Paka is just continuing to hassle Blaz out on the stairs, but it just doesn't matter. They fall 1 by 1 like dominoes as G2 find kill after kill and find round 2.
Again, it's a really good team push there. Blaz drawing a lot of attention off towards the main lobby side stairs, and at that same time you've got 2 players coming in through the windows. Just everything coming off Blaz. The player I was speaking about in the previous round, how will he do? Well, he's just walked to 3K, Tim. Beautiful stuff.
I don't want to get carried away too early. G2 look really good. They do the first couple of rounds. G2 have gone in and won those rounds.
I kind of see it as like, do you pass a bar in the first few days of the competition? Do you show that you've got the team coordination, that you can pull off good team executes, that you can win the gunfights that you need to? And so far, G2 are ticking all of those boxes for sure. What I will say is for M80, all right, it's been a very slow start. They had a couple of nice kills in that first round, Spoit with 2, Kino with the 1, and Gunnar collected 1 for himself in that previous round, I believe. It has been a slow start. If this trend carries on where they find themselves down 0 and 3, that's when you 100 expect a timeout to come through and have a conversation about how you're going to play those next 3 sites, because you expect to see the same 3 sites that we've already seen across that first quarter of the game. So don't count them out down yet. I always say there are 2 halves to a game of Siege. You might see a very different G2 on the defense and a very different M80 on the attack, but not forgetting, this is G2's map pick, and they look extremely comfortable so far.
Yeah, they're looking sharp. And M80, they need to be finding themselves around sooner rather than later in reality. Looking back historically between these 2 teams, they've only played each other twice, and they've actually got 1 win each, both in best of 3s. G2 won back at SI 2023, and M80 won at the then Gamers 8 tournament in 2023. So even spoils so far. Whoever comes away with this one will take the slight advantage between the orgs, and right now G2 are looking good for at least getting themselves an early lead if this momentum continues for them.
Part of me worries, with it not being a very popular map for M80 and also the new players that have come in, they might be looking at this and saying it's not a map that we've got really intricate strats or counter prep on at this point. You know you're playing G2 for a while, to be fair, so you'd expect some of it. But the defenses so far, look at the lineup in this round as well. They've been incredibly slow. There have been no roamers really around the map looking to cause any bother outside of typical things like hovering on hatches on a base with defense. That's not particularly aggressive, and even Blaz was expecting that. They were anticipating it with the knock back in round 1. But M80 have largely sat in, turtled up, and let G2 have the run of things. And I think if they're going to be able to try and disrupt G2 here, they've got to give them a few more things to try and figure out in these rounds. Right now, it's a little bit too elementary for G2.
Doki's just going to be watching at the top of blue stairs there.
This is
Knows
better.
that there could be somebody pushing up there. And the thing is, M80 don't need to get too aggressive here on these blue stairs. They can just play for time. It always works in the defender's favour. Doki knows there's somebody there, so he's not going to turn his attention towards open area yet, because he knows he might get peaked. So Kino right now, he's playing this perfectly and just slowing G2 down.
Yeah. Same thing I said before, though. 4 or 5 players downstairs. Sure, a little bit of a garage extension on the go and a blue stairs hold. Nothing too flash. And admittedly, you don't want to leave players completely isolated and get picked off by a very well-drilled G2, knowing that Doki is going to play a hell of a lot of Deimos, and he will hunt you down. He will pick you off in tandem with 1 or 2 of the players on the team, but it would waste time. And I know we're down to this last 60 seconds and no one's gone down, which is a good start. But again, you've given all control over to G2 here, and they're getting themselves set up in good fashion.
They haven't really got an answer to Kino just yet. We're 2 minutes into the round. We're seeing the Goyo canisters start to get popped, so we can burn another 30 seconds here more than likely. And G2, they're going to have to do something about this position. And on the Warden, it just makes it even more difficult. They can't rely on utility to get this job done. It's going to have to be brute force. And Kino, he's playing this perfectly, Des.
He is. To be fair play, they wasted a hell of a lot of time here. There's still, as you can see, the fire burning out. It will expire in a few seconds' time, at which point they're going to have to make something happen. Uno's in a good spot with the flash as well, sees the man. But like you say, Tim, they can't unseat him. There's only 30 seconds to go. And now he's pushing high up as well. Is he aware of what's going on below? Yes, he will. And that shotgun range is just absolutely ludicrous. Brings one down, a headshot onto Blast. His work is done, Tim. He's killed 2 and wasted 2 minutes and 45 seconds. G2, they're going to need a miracle to win this one.
Yeah, they don't get the round from there, and it's all been won on the back of Kino's play on blue stairs. And that is a little bit disappointing from G2. We see the kills coming in, but ultimately, M8 have got the crossfires, they've got the trades, they've got the positions, and they get the round. And that was much better from M80. But like I say, I'm a little bit disappointed in G2 there. A Warden on blue stairs? Who would have thought it, Des? Who could have dreamed that he might be in that position? We'd already seen him there on the smoke in round 1. They should have been expecting him. They should have had a plan to deal with it. They kind of tentatively prodded with the Blackbeard, but never really went in any meaningful way to try and challenge him, to try and get him moved. And it was a big problem. They just never, ever dealt with him, and it didn't feel like they ever really had a plan to.
But make sure there is not.
Yeah, no, I killed the guy last time. Yeah, and then if we just stay there all far back and give Trump, give red, you know, like we gave too many kills, you know? That's it.
Not wrong in his observations there, Bodega. A few too many kills being given away, I think, on their last basement defense. And you might be looking at this now and thinking, hang on, why have they called attack timeout? They've just won a round. Like, hello, are you stupid? Absolutely not. It's the same thing that I said earlier. They've now played that first quarter of the map. They've played downstairs twice. They've won it the second time round, which now means they've got to go back to a site they've lost and potentially onto another site after that. And whilst they've done okay digging in deep into basement here, you know, first round they lost 2 players out on the roam, fair enough. I think they're realising we're going to have to play this a little bit differently moving on forwards. Not be giving players away, but I still stick to what I said earlier. I do want to see them being willing to challenge G2 in different parts of the map. It doesn't mean dying stupidly, it means playing as a team.
Moving into round 4 then, we'll see whether M80 maybe just had a little bit of a slow start the first couple of rounds, and they can start just cementing now and building a little bit of a foundation for themselves to get a few more rounds. G2, like I said, just coming unstuck at what should be an easy problem, really. It should be an expected problem on that side. So we'll see whether they can adjust things going into round 4.
What we're looking for, nothing else, it's that vertical play that I was asking for, the ability to go out there and challenge more of the map rather than digging in deep and hoping for the best once the crows start singing, in this case G2 on their push forward. So I do think G2 are going to have to think about a way through. They've seen them leaning in towards things like the Blackbeard and the Ossa, of course, back in round 1. They've tried to make these shields work and to make success, I'll say more success than anything else. In this round, they're not going for that at all, but they do want this vertical control. Look straight towards Blaz here on the ramp. You bring along that operator when you want large parts of the floor being opened up in pretty quick time. So they've got to make sure, 1, that he stays alive, and 2, that they actually get this top floor control in good time. Uno's going to start things off by opening up this reinforced wall on towards Whitehall. Gives you full control all the way down and stops players here, like the Warden of Diffuser, who's digging upstairs inside a stock, from being able to safely rotate back down Whitehall. He's really in a bit of a danger spot there. We've forced to drop instead down through the hatch, back in towards site.
Just working the way up gold stairs here. Alamo manages to walk in and find one.
Beautiful.
On Packer almost picks up a second as well. And it's a great start from G2 on this roam clearance. They're not doing some serious work there. Alamo continuing to challenge out towards stock, forcing be Diffuser to drop away down the hatch, and G2, they certainly have a little bit more impetus about them than they did in the last round.
Oh, Alamar on the Nook feels like winding back the ears, doesn't it? That's the go-to that we used to see from him so often. We mentioned about him being off that IGL role and being able to be a bit more unleashed and making plays like that is certainly a sign of it. They've got the entry though, Tim. Now what else can they find? They've also forced the Warden away from top floor, so top floor is now theirs. I don't know if they fully know that yet. They're in pretty good spots overall. By the looks of it, yes, they do. But with half a round still to play, now you've got to say, what's next, G2?
That's it. They've really got to take get the most out of that man advantage that they've been able to develop. Right now, M80, they're digging in pretty well here. They've fallen back to site and they're going to hold those angles. They're aware that the hatch is open, ready for any potential drop coming on in. But G2, they just need to keep going through the checklist here, and that's exactly what they're doing. Get the wall open, start making it difficult now for M80 to play in the entire site, force them back into just half of it, and see if they can't create a little bit of room for exactly that. The drop comes in and they can start challenging. Uno manages to pick up one. Is there a second there for him? Of course there is. Spite manages to pick up Laz. 3 versus 2. G2 still in the advantage.
Now they're kind of weaponizing this against him. They've got no idea that Uno is still snaking his way around. The long distance 1v1 coming in. He knows where Gunnar is, but Gunnar lands the headshot. Uno almost repurposing that Azami cover back to his own means, but Gunnar hits the shot and gives him 80 a second round.
Yeah.
Nice. Listen, run back the CEO clash, bro. Run back the CEO clash.
We cannot give up red.
Bring the mirror. They're just hitting crouch walks. But listen, call what we're holding.
I think calling what we're holding was the issue there, where Uno managed to really get in and get away with 3 kills, because there was no notice there, Tim, of what was going on through Poppy. Like, the fact that he got this drop in and walked away with 3, they were like, okay, well, where are they? Coming admin side, they're coming in kitchen side, but no one actually called that they were watching towards Uno, and you can see the problem there of 3K being warped, but ultimately saved by Gunnar, as mentioned.
G2 there, I think they just need... They were just a little bit ahead of themselves, I think. They hadn't dealt with everything that they needed to. Gunnar was able to get around behind them, use those angles late in the round to be able to just get that advantage over Uno and make him take that long-range fight. And so I think G2 was, yes, it wasn't a bad round for them. They got those early kills. They maybe just went that little bit too soon. They thought the opening was there. They thought the time was upon them to pounce. And it wasn't quite. And ultimately, M80 were able to stand tall and hold up pretty well. So, M80 now coming back up to the top floor. They've got a couple of rounds under their belt this time. They've brought back the Clash, as Packer said, run it back with the Clash. They're confident in this strat, in their ability to get it done. Again, last time it was Blaz. He walked up the main lobby, spiral stairs, and just got a couple of kills. And that's exactly what M80 are picking up on. Look, we can't let them keep just crouch walking in, getting a couple of kills and creating the space. This time, it's Lair to find the opener onto Gunnar. M80, they need now to dig deep and make sure they don't lose any more.
Yeah, picked him back up there as he tried to run back into the room. You're running into hot fire there and you've got the Clash on side. It's really, we need the Clash to be in the room first, but pay the price on a little bit of mistiming. The big difference in this round, though, looking at it, is going to be that mirror. They've got no easy way of dealing with this, is my main concern for the side of G2. Of course, getting in below and shooting it out is one thing you can do, but that requires getting a lot of control downstairs. And look who's down there. It's Diffuser causing a bit of bother in the basement. The last thing you want is to get backstabbed by him as this round wears on. But with the 2 shields on side, looking in towards mainly that Ossa, screams to me that you've got to keep all eyes on Uno and where he wants to plant. Currently on this square window, but they want to make sure that they can get in here safely first and foremost.
Got to pick up on Alamar at this point as well. Obviously coming off that RGL in. We suggested maybe we're going to see him, you know, getting in there, getting active, getting kills. He's struggled to get himself into the game so far. 1 kill in 4 rounds. It could be a big difference maker for G2 if they can kind of get him activated. That might well come when he moves on to the defense. We'll see in the second half. But right now, just a little bit quiet. And Blaz, yes, he's got 4 kills, but a lot of them came in 1 round, and it feels like Lair just needs somebody backing him up a bit here.
Diffuser's being problematic here. Do they catch him? Alamar might hear him on the drone underneath. I'm not too sure that they have. Not forgetting he's got this C4, which is the golden answer to this shield-based play, especially towards the Oster. Alamau trying to force his way forward, and Doki's in behind. Another well-executed bit of team play coming out, but look, Tim, Uno's gone down. I mentioned that C4. The thing is, they can recover this, unlikely to get a plant on. Diffuse is in a 1 versus 4, no control of sight, nothing to be done, and Doki closes it out for G2.
Last round, I said G2 had allowed M80 to use that flank to get in behind them, and they just needed to make sure that they were controlling everything a little bit better. They did it that time. We saw that late attempt from M80 there, just to get on the backside from Square, and it was completely unsuccessful. G2 shutting it down. I mentioned Alamau. What is he bringing? What is he getting done? How is he helping the team? It was a great play from him to deal with that clash, pushing with the blitz, making the clash move, and Doki was there. It was a really well-worked bit of team play.
It was spicy. This is when G2 are at the best, when you give them the time and space to execute as a team. You've got 3 or 4 players all moving into positions at once, and you know, dare I say those dreaded words of split theory. This is exactly what it looks like when a team can erupt into a part of the map from multiple directions and take over it incredibly quickly. It's very hard to stop them. And that's where I think M80 have found more success previously, is not really giving them that ability to pick off isolated players. We heard them saying that. In fact, during the timeout was we can't afford to keep on losing players here. We can't let them get picked off around the map. And dare I say M80 did better there, I think, in digging in. And they, of course, had Diffuser of being able to roam around that basement and first floor with absolute freedom, getting a great C4 onto Uno. But that was the only thing that went the M80 way in the round. Last round of the half, though, G2's final attack and M80's final defense. What are we down here in basement?
G2 certainly going to be looking for that 4-2 half. I think if they can get it on the attack, they should be fairly confident on their own map in being able to lock it down on the defense. It's only going to mean that they need to be able to win their 2 primary sites, and they will get the job done. So this would be a big round for them. But by contrast, of course, you can say the same for M80. They're going to know that the pressure's on a little bit here. They're not going to want to go onto the attack needing to get a majority of rounds to get the win, because it's not necessarily going to be that simple against G2 here. So just a careful little peek out towards that printer window, knowing that the pressure may well mount through open area to get control of those hatches first.
Sure, and it's a similar thing as well, where hovering around the hatches, as you say, is the main point where you want to put a bit of focus down, and Doki's the one on the hunt here, looking at what he can try and find. Of course, lots of top floor clearance are coming at the same time, where you've seen Blaz being on those duties before. This time around, it is Alamau on the buck. We were talking about Alamau the other day, actually, and saying, when you think back to the days of Team 1 back in 2021, his smoke and buck were unrivaled, you might even say, around the world. And I'm enjoying the fact that we get to see him with a little bit more freedom now on these kind of operators. As we mentioned, seeing the Nook earlier on was a nice bit of a throwback as well. And I think the book really cements that again, this is a bit of a different look G2.
Spike just going to be holding this position for, I was going to say, a couple of seconds more, but he knows that the pressure is mounting, knows that his time was numbered, and just gets himself away from danger. G2 now in complete control of the upper levels of the map, and it is time to start working towards site. Last time around, of course, becoming unstuck by that blue stairs position. This time, Packer has managed to get himself in a position quite aggressively up main stairs here, just waiting for that push to come forward, but aware of it, I think. Alamau sends in the nade. That's just going to force them away. I don't know if that was aimed more at the barbed wire than the player, but yeah, either way, it gets the job done.
It's two for the price of one, really, isn't it? Forcing away the barbed wire and the players at the same time. Doki very aware now, if he was listening, of course, that there were 2 players there looking to challenge onto him. Of course, Blackbeard charging in through the soft wall, doubling up in this case here, ready for the execute. A similar spot as before, of course, no Oster on side this time around, but Doki's just there being that little thorn in the backside where you can't comfortably play. Staring in towards server from range, really, it's constantly trying to pinch them in. And Lair has dropped in, found one, instantly traded out as well. So not a bad response from M80, but again, the pressure is building from G2.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got themselves in position. Uno's got the diffuser in hand. They're just burning out that utility. Doki manages to find one, and that creates the space for Uno to start putting the diffuser down. He's getting aggressive inside of the side. Uno does stick it, but he's 1v3 in the post plant. He manages to find the first. Can he get onto the hatches? It looks like he can.
Imagine if Uno can pull this off. It would be magical. He's got the diffuser down. That's a big advantage on side already. M80, they've got to decide what the game plan is here. They try and get one down to a 1 versus 1. Uno potentially about to go nuclear, being chased up blue behind him as well, but just about rounds the corner in time. Right idea, sees his man, but misses the shot. A flash coming out down to the last 15 here. He's only going to win the 1, and Tim, he's done it! Uno in a post plant, 1v3 to give G2 the half.
Beautiful composure from Uno on that play, Des. He sticks the plant. Even when the pressure is mounting, he continues getting that diffuser down when the attacks are coming into sight. He knows that the win condition there is get this diffuser on the ground. There's no other way to do it. Get it on the ground, get upstairs and hold it from the hatch. And he did it absolutely beautifully, even understanding when that rotation was coming, when that push was coming to clear him away from it. Great stuff from Uno, just showing, you know, exactly how he thinks so smartly about this game.
Yeah, I love it. I feel like he was kind of half speaking to us when he was saying this. Leo on the pre-game desk was just like, he's showing that age is not a concern. I was like, yes, Leo, you're absolutely right. Age is not a concern. How old are you this year, Tim?
Don't worry about it, Des.
Go on, Tim, give us the number.
21 again, for the 19th time.
Let the
We're
audience...
40 this year.
I know, mate. It's a big one. What are we doing for it?
I'm just ignoring it at the minute.
Oh, yeah.
To be honest, I've never really been bothered about age. Like, people talked about it, like, when I was 30, people get like, oh, you're 30. Like, and honestly, I've never been as happy when I was 30. And
It's
I'd
funny you
say the
say
same
that.
again. I've never been as happy as 40.
I say this to people all the time. Like, when you turn 30, I'm 2 years into that journey, 2.5 years in. But 30s feels a lot more settled than 20s. Because in your 20s, you're still sort of figuring yourself out, discovering what you want to do with life as well, kind of learning who you are as a person. You get to your 30s and life feels...
You know what's going on.
Yeah, it feels
You've
good.
generally got, you know, a little bit of direction. You kind of know what's going on. And
Yeah.
you've got, you know,
and if you
you've
don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
You'll
It's fine.
still
It'll
figure it
come. But I get to 40 now, and I think I'm almost past worrying about stuff. You know what I mean? It's like whatever. It's fine.
Great. We know who is worrying about stuff, Tim. M80. We make that noise to each other a lot. I'm aware. It's probably just come out and broadcast for the first time. All right, second half is underway. M80 have got a little bit of a challenge before them here. They are down 4-2. It is G2's map pick, and hopefully M80 can show us what they're all about on the attacking side. That reminder again, they have changed 3 players. This is very much a new look M80. And from what Bodega was saying to me, you can expect a lot more fun, you can expect a lot more aggression, a little bit of a faster pace as well, and hopefully they can catch G2 off guard with that. I don't want to count them out yet. I'm seeing things, for example, like the Sens being on side, like the Ying here. A little bit of a throwback to old school backdrops there, I said, where a lot of teams would attack with that Ying on side. But we'll see what they can do with all this utility they're no doubt going to dump on top of G2's heads.
Yep, Lair is now making a choice. With that hatch open, he is locked in this position. He's unlikely to move until moved is the reality. He needs to try and take 1 or 2 with him and burn probably another minute realistically. So that's going to be the first big one to watch. In goes the Candela to try and disrupt him, but now is not really the time as a well-timed smoke canister comes out from Lair just to hold them back, but there's the full white. Here comes the push. They've dealt with it so much better than G2 did, Des. Doki picks up Gunner, 4 versus 4, but G2, they're starting to lose their grip on this site.
Doki's still here. They might see the feet maybe stepping out, and sure enough they do, but he knows he's getting pushed in. And with this, there's about 60 seconds left, still dug in. He's getting flashed, he's getting candelaed, he's getting tracked. Everything you can throw at Doki is being thrown his way right now. He's seen nothing but a white screen for the last 20 seconds. I'm pretty sure he thinks his monitor is broken. But the important thing is, he is still here, Tim.
And that just goes to show exactly why his army is considered as powerful as she is. Just wasted so much time in there behind those keeper barricades, but the ground has now been taken. The diffuser is going down, but so are the players as G2 are managing to find kills. 2v2. Can M80 repeat what Uno did against them? Can they hold on from above?
Bit of a retard. I'd say diffuser's going in here as well. They've managed to get 1. Alamal's got no choice. He's got to push out for the firefights here. Right idea looking towards the hatch. I think that's where he thought his man got down from. But no, it's here on blue. Right idea. And finds the down. But my concern is, Tim, they don't really have the time anymore. And the hatch is there. This one's looking a little bit cut. He'll try and get his man up. They've got 10 seconds to make this work. The drop comes on through. Has he taken a bit of a gamble? Yes, he has! And Uno with a 2K and a disable coming on through will move him up to 5-2. Diffuser there. He's absolutely bottled it by dropping in too soon.
Who the fuck dropped? Who the fuck dropped the hatch? Oh my god, he's fucking terrible.
I love SI!
You guys are making me laugh.
That is going to be a big
You can
blow.
win if you stay in the hatch open and hold the default plan. It's a pretty basic angle, though, he says in all chat. They're letting Diffuser know what they think. Because I was sat here like, bro, why are you dropping? Wait until you hear the Diffuse coming through for a bit longer.
I think I'm I'm gonna try, Diffuser. I'm gonna try for you. I think he's.
Why drop? I don't understand.
I think either the caller's come in, or he's maybe got a bit of sound where he thinks he's being picked up. So he thinks it's a 3-2, it ends the round, and it's job done. He's concerned about being challenged whilst they get on the diffuser, so that he can't. So I agree, even in those circumstances, hold the hatch. Do not take the drop, even if you think you can get them both. I'm reasoning with why I think...
The thing is, he left the drop so late, like the pickup was finished by the time he actually hit the ground, and I was like, you've left it so long.
Maybe the info was a little bit late. I get why he's done it. He's thought, I can just get this done now. I don't have to worry about the challenge coming back up the hatch. Yes, I think it was the wrong decision, of course. Doki and Alamau have got a little bit mouthy in the chat. They've let him know about that. And the thing is, that could be a big blow for M80 now. 5-2 to G2. A round that M80 absolutely should have won.
There you go.
How different does 5-2 sound to 4-3? It is a massive, massive difference.
Thank you very much, Reserve, for reminding us of that smack talk in the all chat. As you said, letting him know. The crazy thing is, like, these things happen, and in hindsight, we all sit here and go, what was that? But in the heat of the moment, like, you feel like it's the right call. You just react very instinctively and do it.
Let's be honest, we've all done that in ranked. But the point is, this isn't ranked.
I've dropped and not got a kill there, Tim. That's the best part. He's got one at least.
Exactly. We've all made that bad decision. We've all thought, I can do this, I can have that moment, I can get this wrapped up. And that's all that's happened. It's that rush of blood. It's that day one at SI. But the point is, if you want to go on and win this tournament, you can't be making rash decisions like that. You've got to play smart.
The thing is, Tim, we're also not fighting for $1 million in rank. That's the difference. That also
that is the big difference.
And to give Diffuser a bit of lead, 5th highest rate to play in the NL last year, we know that he's got the caliber. Because at least here in this first game, we've not seen too many of that new fresh blood on this team waking up and making a bit of a difference. Out the window goes Doki, and Diffuser cannot catch a break.
That was actually really good from Doki. He had about 20 HP left after being bullied by the Deimos from downstairs. So he really made the most of that life that he had left. And he's really helped his team out there. That's Deimos and Ash now off the board. It's 3 versus 4. M80 is still trying to work the windows, but honestly, I'm struggling to see exactly how they're going to create the space here. The next thing they need is a couple of kills.
That's it. G2 have got that numbers advantage here. That clock starts to wind on down. 70 seconds to play. In comes Kino and still can't beat his man at tight range. 2 quick kills for G2. They're in a 4 versus 1. Sad to say it, Tim, does feel like this map might be chalked for M80. They're only going to have 1 round to work with, and this may well be. It looks like it is, based on the camera that you can see at the bottom of your screen, an unofficial timeout, as we call it, making use of this final 60 seconds. And I do expect that means we'll see G2 in all chat in a moment, giving them some lip.
That doesn't sound like G2 does. Yeah, I think ultimately, you know, this map has just got away from M80, and we came in asking questions. We didn't know exactly what M80 were going to look like. They've had the couple of player changes. Have they had long enough to really settle in? Bodega's come back in. Can they get everything together?
That one hits a bit close to home.
Liar.
For those who missed the context on that one, Cameraman, of course, left M80 and has now joined G2 as their assistant coach for this event. So there's the reminder. He wouldn't be 0-6. Yeah.
It's a good opportunity to talk about that Cameraman pickup for G2 as well. I've always really rated Cameraman heavily for his, you know, strategic knowledge and ability and the way that he can shape teams to his vision. And that's something I think that is going to help G2 massively over the next couple of months. When I think about Cameraman, I think way back to sort of 2020 days in Brazil when he went to MIBR. And he was there with Cyber and Bullet and those guys. And MIBR at the time were just known as this team that just were all out aggression all the time. They just did crazy stuff. They just ran in and tried to get kills. Cameraman went there, and we saw this huge shift in MIBR. And they rocketed to being like kind of a top 4 team in the world really, really quickly, because he gave them the strategic edge. And then eventually the roster went across and became FaZe, and then obviously that roster has then seen a couple of changes where Cameraman moved away. But it was just such a visual, you know, representation of his ability to be able to go in there and shape a team and give it structure and give it strategy. And I'm not saying G2 didn't have that, but Cameraman coming in as assistant coach is just going to add layer upon layer. And we're starting to see it, I think.
Well, we'll always stress the reminder this is a best of 3. It's not a best of 1. Otherwise, I think G2 very rightly so are able to talk all the smack in the world. However, Map 2 could prove to be a very different affair when it starts breaking down into it. It is going to be, I believe it's Lair that was waiting, not Labs as our next one. I'll double check that in a moment, but I'm pretty sure it was Lair we're going to as our second map. For now, M80 have still got 2 minutes 30 of potential punishment coming in. Or Tim, maybe they stage a miraculous comeback. It would be something special. We have got the Skopos on the side of Blaz here. We saw an unbelievable play on this map with the Skopos previously. I don't think we're going to have that kind of like perfect alignment where lightning strikes twice again. I'm always keen to see what this operator can get up to. And the answer right now, Tim, is hunker down inside the basement and get running around the map like a lunatic.
The thing is, there's a number of reasons for bringing the Skopos, you know, as we talk about. It can just be about having a shield that's also a bulletproof camera. It can be about the amount of utility that it brings. It's not always about getting out on the roam and having that teleportation back to site, or, you know, you can just be there to take the fights, but to bring the utility, because you've got a bulletproof cam, you've got a shield essentially, you've also then got extra utility with the impact nades. Alamau's going to pick up diffuser, and this is just going perfectly for G2 right now. 4 versus 3.
This is top floor, Tim. They're trying to break a 2-man hole on the top floor, and they've lost 2 players trying to do it. That just shouldn't be a thing, and I did wonder when we'd see this happen as well. Blaz has got a kill, danced around a little bit there, secured Alamau. Not really a trade, but baited in a kill for Alamau to secure, and then it's just teleported down to basement and got himself back up to full HP, able to roam around and be a lunatic once more. G2 really have got the run of things here, and M80, they know that this is short. They know that this is a big ask for them to try and get anything back and over. It's just not going to happen. Blaz, he's the boogeyman under the stairs, haunts them in this game. What more can you say?
Yeah, it's almost certainly job done for G2 in map 1 as Alamau manages to pick up Packer, and it is all up to Kino. 1 versus 4. Had a pretty decent game so far as Kino, picking up kill number 9 there, but it hasn't been enough to buy his team some rounds, and that's what M80 are going to have to consider in the break between these 2 maps. They're really going to have to come back strong on map 2. It's going to be Lair, and we know G2 are a good Lair side. Des, and having picked up Bank there, it could be a quick day for G2.
It's definitely been a quick start there, 7-2 on that first map, and I do want to again shout out players that wouldn't normally do so. Blaz, Laura and Uno have all had unbelievable performances there. You know, we're gassing up Alamau coming into it, but it's been those 3, the ones that have really stepped up and made themselves known. And we know that there's quality in Alamau and Doki. If these 3 can keep up performances like this going through the series into future days, this could be a really promising tournament for G2.
It's a great start. I don't want to get carried away. I don't want to get carried away about any teams today, because, as we know, the group stage progresses, and it's a roller coaster ride. I've always said it. Any team, you look back, any team that has won a tournament in Siege, they have a bad day at some point. So, you know, those will be coming, and that's the important moments. It's all well and good winning easy. You've got to be able to win hard.
Well, M80 got to pull themselves back together. Let's see what happens after the break.
Welcome back to the desk here, where we're going to break down the first map between G2 and M80 on Bank. Now, I think you two can give yourselves a bit of a pat on the shoulder, a pat on the back for that one, because whilst we said it was difficult to predict what M80 was going to bring us, you were kind of right about G2.
Yeah, I think so. I think we focused very, very heavily on the fact that they've changed from Alamau to Uno in that IGL role. And as such, I think we saw G2 absolutely dominate. I think they controlled almost every single round of that match. It really was G2's map that they went out and they absolutely took the bull by the horns and they absolutely destroyed their opponent. It was, of course, their map pick, so you'd expect them to win it, but I think the nature of how they won it was what was most impressive to me, Leo.
Yeah, if we look at the win conditions that have evolved, one of the things we said, Uno being the IGL will elevate the fundamentals of that team, and that showed in attack with an amazing split and with great post-plan situations. We still have the key strength of this incredible individual plays, with Lair finding so many opening engagements, with Uno finding so many clutches. So we still have that aspect, and we also saw Alemao given space and creating space. So all of the things that we mentioned early that we expected from G2 with this role change is happening right now in this game. Was it only because it was their map pick, or is it going to be consistent? That's the real question.
Kind of fun to see Uno as a top performer on this roster as well. Maybe not something we'd always expect, but it did have some amazing moments in this matchup. But in general, G2 seemed very much in control of the rounds they were winning.
Yeah, that was the thing. I think obviously they started out on their attacks. They got a 4-2 attack split. Realistically, I think we were saying it should have been a 5-1. There was a kitchen open area attack that they had everything they needed to plant, and they went and pushed Spoit, and we know what Spoit's capable of in terms of winning that. But yeah, I would say in terms of control, that's the way I look at it. 5-1 attack half. It was very, very dominant. They knew exactly what they wanted to do. The plan was good. Their teamwork was good. Their synergy was good. All these buzzwords that we use. And then off the back of that, they had that X factor in Alamau who was able to lurk in and create a lot of space for them.
And even in that aspect, I mean, if you look at the stats right now and you see it, the only reason it got close in many of these rounds were only Kino or Spoit getting 2 or 3 kills when they shouldn't have, because G2 were very extended instead of keeping control. I'm thinking of that one round where they attack open space. They have open space control, they could plant, they decide to flood kitchen and they lose here. That was one round they gave away to M80. So they were still, even then, even winning 7-2, they were still even better and even could have won 7-1.
I think it's nice to see Alamau being kind of unleashed with this new role he's been giving, with the fact that he doesn't have to IGL anymore, and we're seeing that in many of the rounds.
Yeah, I have one example in particular. Actually, it's the first one we saw from the highlights. When Alemao is given that space, let's take a look. Nuck, I'm gonna go into main and look at the drone above the stairs. First thing, he pings the goo mine. You can see here, so he knows he can avoid that goo mine. Second thing, you will see the yellow ping on the Trump player here. In that corner, boom, he's getting yellow ping, free kill for Alemao, straight into the punch, straight into the second roamer. And look at what he has achieved. In a span of 10 seconds with one drone, he has single-handedly cleared the entirety of the roaming here.
And especially for that type of attack and defense on the open area, is the one thing that you look for is you want top floor control as an attacker. Normally it takes you 2 minutes to achieve that, and you have 1 minute to set up and execute. Alamau did that single-handedly with a drone in front of him. Within 60 seconds, he'd controlled the top floor and got his team into a 5v4. They did go on and lose the round because they trolled the execute, to be honest. But the importance there is, if he can do that consistently, G2 and Uno off the back of that is going to have so much more time to plan their executes accordingly. And as such, their attack win rate will go up because of that.
It's all smiles in the camp of G2 as well. We saw that after the game, they were all smiling, having a great time with each other. But I feel like whilst we see G2 be a well-oiled machine, it's the complete opposite over on the side of M80. This is not what we were hoping from this new iteration of the roster for their first map. Packer on the donut, things were not looking great for them.
Yeah, I know. We didn't get any dessert after lunch, so Packer 7 is up a donut, I guess. But the one thing I will say, even Spoit liked that one. The one thing that I will say is that obviously we said that we liked this team in theory. We didn't know what they were to offer us, and Packer's role in that, I'm not going to be too critical of Packer that in fact he dropped 0 kills, because in this system he's the one that isn't meant to get the kills. He is the IGL leading his troops around the park.
He was playing Clash, bro, like giving some,
again, there's a strat there where there's a clash on the board on the top floor for CEO. Whenever you play a clash, you're 4v5 guns up, right? And then Gunnar had died in front of the clash, and it was effectively a 3v5 because Packer's having to play the clash. Stuff like that hasn't helped, but yeah, they need to just dust themselves off M80 and go again.
There was lots of talking going on, especially from Packer on that team, but we just saw the Diffuser as well with the strat book for Lair. That's our second map in the series after the break.
it up, back it up. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Back it up, back it up. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Back to the back to the back to the back to the back. Take it back, take it back. Back it up, 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 back it up. Take it back, take it back. Back it up, back it up, back it up, back it up. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Back it up, back it up. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Back to the back to the back to the back to the back.
Lair is our second map, and we're just getting set up. Now, the one thing I think the question that everyone has for M80, it's their map pick. What do we need or want to see from them to make sure this doesn't end in an O2?
I've got a quick shopping list. The first thing you do, because they start attack, is to go direct takes. Limited control, that way you cannot get flanked that easily. Second thing, you make sure you open those walls really quickly without Reacher and Thatcher. Third thing, you abuse utility like shields, like Ying, like glass, to make sure that you have utility that puts you in a favorable gunfight, because you're worse right now in terms of gunfight than G2. If you can do all these three things, then you will have a successful attack split, and yet you defend, close the gaps so that Alemo cannot open these gaps, and play close to the bomb site with natural crossfires.
I'm going to summarize all of that with 3 words. Keep forward. Keep it simple, stupid.
Are we doing ward seekers again, or the cross source types of things? I mean, sounds like keep it simple, but yeah, that's exactly what we need and want to see from M80 in this map. It is their own map pick, and we once again have Dez and Ace for Lair.
I love how Fresh tries to keep it really simple. It's like, keep it simple, stupid. 3 words. Oh, it's 4 words. You kept it simple and still mucked it up.
Never mind.
What's he like? M80 are the ones mucking this up, Tim, though. It's not been a solid start from as you've heard so far. This is their map pick. My main concern, though, is you look back at this. I think back when Lair first came out, G2 actually played this quite a bit, and they look pretty good at it. So I'm a tickle concerned that M80 are really walking into a bit of a trap here, and G2 are just going to slap them down for an easy 2-0.
Yes, I think that would definitely be the concern at the minute. Like we said, coming in, question marks over both sides, changes in the way G2 play, but changes on the M80 roster. How is that going to impact both teams? I think we can certainly say, at least after Bank, that G2 have definitely responded the better to those changes than M80 may be to their changes. However, maybe things have settled down. They're coming into a map that they've picked, a little bit more confidence there. We'll see how they go on Lair. Monty is going to be the first ban.
This is one of the more balanced maps as well. It's the closest to 50-50 that we had for a defense attack win rate. So if M80 are going to find success anywhere, I don't blame them here on the attacking side to believe they can get something away from G2, who I think quite naturally would choose to start on the defense, as they were not the team that picked this map. In case you are new to Siege, you haven't watched too much of it before, if you pick the map, the other team gets to choose what side they start on. Where that then varies a little bit is if you get to overtime, the team that picked the map gets to choose what side they start on. So I expect M80 will start overtime on defense, assuming we even get there, Tim, because we may well not. M80 in with the Monty and the Warden bands coming out, and also seeing the Buckbeard taken away, Tim.
The big thing now for M80 for me is how do they keep the vibes up? How do they keep the energy up? Because they've had a couple of tough round losses, particularly that diffuser drop. I don't want to keep highlighting it, but diffuser, it was a tough round to lose. And it is the sort of thing that's going to eat away at your confidence as a team. And coming in here, they've got to find a way to turn things back around and, you know, sort of get back in the driving seat here. And G2 on defense, it's not an easy thing now for M80 to break them down. Like Leo said, maybe they've just got to concentrate on those direct attacks. Just get in there. Don't give them too much opportunity to play their game. But it's always difficult to come in against a team that are already on top when they're on defense.
I don't want to pick on one player too much here as well, but like however,
I got taught something once, Des, and that's everything before the word but doesn't count.
Oh, fine then.
I don't want to highlight one player, but go on, highlight one player.
Gunnar was shit on entry. That's the highlight that comes out. The thing is, relative to what we expect from him, because in NAL, he was the second best entry. Like, he's a brilliant player, very, very good at getting the entry kills and converting it into further in the round to help propel his teams through to a win. On that last map, he was 3 and 8 on the entry, 1 and 2. Didn't really get himself moving. Yeah, sure, got the one entry, but nothing came off the back of it, and that is my concern, is they need him firing on all cylinders. You can't keep on turning to Spoit and Kino as the incumbents from this team, for example. You've got to go big.
That could be a symptom of the roster changes, of players coming in, and I'm not saying fighting over the same positions, but it's who's going to do what, who's fitting in where, you know, is going to playing in the same sort of positions as he was for Beast Coast when he was able to be that top entry player, you know, and it's just getting that settling down. Spoit comes in, gets the entry. Is he going to be able to find himself a second one? No.
Beautiful.
He does, in fact. Alamau, I thought, was going to win that fight, but Spoit, a second, and beautiful stuff, just playing in behind that shield of Packer.
A good bit of really simple team play coming out as well. You've got the Deimos on side for the track, you've got the shield up in your face that you have to pay attention to, and Spoit coming in behind. Like, if I was going to be playing a shield and have anyone behind me, it's probably Spoit that I want behind me. He's walked to 2K there, got rid of the smoke, got rid of the Valkyrie. A great start for M80, and just how you wanted Lair to begin.
Great play from Doki there, just with a little bit of intel. Knew that they were inside of Ops. Takes the punch and takes the kill, takes down Gunnar. And as you said, not the best game for him back on Bank. And it continues to be a torrid affair so far on Lair. Nitro potentially going to go over the top here. They need to be careful. They can't allow themselves to lose that Blitz shield that easily. They only have a one-man advantage, and they need to keep that utility at their disposal.
Really got Mass Wall tied up as well with the electric in case. Normally you see a team trying to open that up quite early on to put pressure into where Doki's currently playing, what we call masks. There are masks on the wall to his left. And you'd expect pressure to come in towards Oxide, where Spoit is coming from. And this is, for G2, I think back to when I first watched them play this map, they love playing the Bandit in this exact position. But normally they'll leave one half of the wall open up to be able to challenge on towards Mez at the same time. So they've kind of conceded this entire south side of the map and just said, fine, you guys want to work with that? You can work with it. They've got a lot to do here, though, with only 3 of them left alive. And I think for M80, Tim, they're starting to surround, and you can feel that death coming closer for G2.
That's big from the Bandit there. Just able, Doki, to keep himself in that position at masks, prevents the ace charge detonating. Diffuser does pick up Uno, though, and while it felt winnable in a 3v4 for G2, a 2v4 I think will be too much to ask, and exactly what I expected. M80 now start to apply the pressure, start to push in. They are feeling emboldened by their numbers advantage. Packer's putting the diffuser down. This has been a really nice attack all round from M80.
Dare I say, Tim, a near flawless one as well.
Really good.
Outside of Doki getting that little side swipe and getting rid of Gunnar, the poor side who I mentioned just couldn't seem to catch a break in the last map. It's carrying on here. That was brilliant. Admittedly, largely orchestrated and focused around Packer and Spoit. This sort of, yeah, it's a very aggressive Monty. I was about to say Monty, but it's not. It's a Blitz in this case. The shield leading in, the main gunner behind them as well. It's so hard to know where to focus. Look away from the shield for too long. He's dropping it down. Pistols coming out. He's flashing, as you've seen here. Just really good, fast play. And I remember hearing during one of their timeouts or between rounds on the last map, they were saying, right, we go fast, we go hard now. They've come in on round 1 of Lair and just hit G2 with a haymaker from nowhere. Almost sucker punch them, you might say. And so although that first round's gone really well for them, I'd argue G2 will be saying, guys, it's 1 round, they caught us off guard, it's all cool, chill out, let's go again.
you might wonder why Uno was getting caught out downstairs like that, just coming around Rocket Stairs. He was likely playing underneath to prevent M80 doing exactly that, because Doki wanted to keep himself in position in masks, wanted to keep that double wall close with the bandit batteries and also play around ops. And one of the first things, if you're wanting to open that external breach that teams will do, is they'll go underneath and they'll open up the floor from beneath their feet and clear that masks position. So I think that's why Uno was kind of caught out in the cold there, trying to rotate his way back, but it was just too late. M80 had too much control, so much better attack from them than we saw back on Bank. This time we're going to see a different site from G2. They're going to move into the mid floor, but still defend the top floor. A lot of the utility being expended up there.
For sure, you can play a full, like, 3-story roam on this site, which is always nice to see. Keep yourself busy, as you said, they're down in the basement at the same time, so there's a lot to kind of concern yourself with. If you're M80, you ignore the basement, you find yourself getting chewed up by someone with a late flank. You ignore the top floor, they're going to rain death on you from above. But they're still sticking in behind the shield, and I do not blame them because it works so well. The other key addition, though, of course, is going to be Kino that you're looking at here. Not really many smokes on side. Instead, got the frags in back pocket, the smokes in the back pocket of Packer instead. So I'd wager here you're not going to see this be a big, massive focus Glaz execute. Instead, a lot of the focus, I think, will still be based around Packer.
Exactly that. It's going to be playing in behind that shield. They had so much success with it last time. Why would you not double down and give it another go? G2 didn't really have an answer. We'll see whether they are able to this time. We're going to have, for the time being, M80 kind of trying to set themselves up. They're using that Maverick to open these walls, but there will be no more of it as Doki manages to take him down.
We spoke about this vertical, and you'll get death rain down on you from above if you're not careful. That's exactly what Doki has just found. It's a great angle for sure, but now that means that wall will not get opened up. And so for M80, it's going to be a case of figuring things out the old-fashioned way. Guns up, charging in with a shield and causing a little bit of chaos.
I think the problem there is M80 have kind of gone about things backwards. You need to take that top floor before you start worrying about your breach and getting on towards side. They've been punished because they haven't done. We've had them sat there for the longest time on the stairs, kind of waiting with the splits to go and do something about it, but they never did do anything about it, and they've been punished.
There we go, then starting their way up towards Rocket, and I think, like you said, Tim, realising, hey, we probably should really worry about top floor. We've now lost 2 players trying to get rid of that. They don't know about the Kaid off towards the left finds 1. A little bit detached here is the problem, Tim. The player that was supporting, in this case, I believe it was Kino, was just too far away from Packer, who was looking to take ground, and G2 barely had to feel rattled in that round. They weren't pushed away from top floor and just picked up kills for free. I think even Doki's surprised by it.
Doki knows how disgusting that angle was. And he's just killed the Maverick off. Well, the thing there is, it was weirdly easy for G2, that round, because it was the same, essentially. M80 needed to do the same as they'd done fantastically well in round 1.
Yeah.
They just needed to do more of that, and they didn't. And I'm not really sure why the change of strategy for the attack. Go across and take top floor. It was almost, Packer goes in, doesn't know the Kaid's in the corner. It feel like there were a little bit of a lack of intel, maybe not aware of how many of G2 were upstairs.
Well, they were reeling by then.
How much control they had. And so, yeah, I think for me, M80 just needed to sort of rinse and repeat round 1, really, and go in, take that top floor, and then worry about site. But it didn't really pan out like that.
Oh, that is
it's horrible.
The worst thing is, that's obviously an angle that's been opened up by Gunnar as well. Like, he's drawn the line across the top and given Doki the angle that he needs. I was just like, that's a really weird one to find. I didn't know you could do that. Turns out you can't unless a Maverick lets you do it. The thing is, I don't blame him as well, because you have to open the top section. If you want to do the Maverick,
you've got to do it that way, right?
You've got to do the top. You can't do the bottom and then do the top, or you get your feet shot out. So I don't blame him.
The answer to that whole thing is, like I said,
the top floor.
Take top floor first.
Yes,
you can't, you can't do that sort of backwards way around. You've got to be getting up there and getting that top floor, because otherwise, like in any situation in Siege, you're going to be punished from those vertical angles if you allow the defenders to stay up there and control them. And that's exactly what happened. So can G2 build from that on the defense? Let's not forget, they are on the defense here. It is the side they chose. They're going to be looking for a 4-2 half. They're 1-1 currently, and they need to now build a little bit of strength. I'd actually like to see them, continue getting out in the map. They won that from the top floor, not from the site last time. Get out in the map again. Cause a nuisance. Make it difficult. Give M80 problems to solve. Keep the pressure on them.
At least they know they're being challenged up here on this second floor. Lair finding out Gunnar again. I keep on speaking about this need for the entry. You're playing on the RAM. That's not the kind of operator you look at and say, you're the entry in this round, guy. That's what a Deimos is for. And again, they're just losing players to, I wouldn't say silliness, but it's getting a little bit hectic here. They've managed to trade one back with Diffuser, playing on the back of Packer. But what worked so well in round one has taken, what, 2.5 minutes, or 3.5 minutes of play to come back to the fore again.
And the thing is, G2 have made a smart play here. Off screen, you haven't seen it, but Blaz and Lair have just got themselves back to site now. They were playing on that mid floor. They've said, you know what, we've won that section of the round. We've done as much as we need to do. We've wasted half the round. We've got 2 kills. We're going to drop back. Let M80 do the work now. They've got rid of the hard breach. They've got damage onto the blitz, damage onto the Deimos. Let's just make things tough for them. And G2 are just controlling the pace of things really well at the minute. However, Lair maybe getting a little bit excitable there, will be picked up by that Claymore from Kino.
Big one to note with the Ram offside here. It's all down to Diffuser to start doing work, so he will start shooting through that ammo as time goes by. Packer is not looking too healthy either, it's worth stating. About 20 HP to his name. Got to be careful because there's that entry shield. You're the one who's looking to get in there and at least take a couple of bullets maybe, or deal with things like smokes coming out. Now he's down to 10 HP. He can't really be that entry for them anymore.
He can hear that nitro as well, and they might know if they've got everybody droned, and they might have an idea who everybody is, so they may know that it can't be detonated, but it may well still be playing into the mind a little bit. Out comes the Toxic Babe canister. We've spoken about Packer. He's going to be taken down easily. It's the impact. Nate Doke, he knows he needs to win this challenge. He's looking through the mirror window, can't find his man, but again, just continues to burn time. 15 seconds left, Des.
That's all they need here. G2 should be able to hold on. Diffuser starting his push on through. Kino has found one, making it a second plant going down. A 1v2 for now as the push starts rounding, but they're in the right place. They hold on tight. It's a 2 versus 1 for M80. And Tim, it feels like they might have turned around what looked like a bit of a disaster into a round win.
Exactly that. They lost those 2 players early, but Diffuser and Kino have done a beautiful job at the end of the round.
What?
I think that was the cameraman Claymore.
The cameraman Claire. There's a cameraman clean. I thought it was a reference.
No, he
to
said
TV
Claymore,
show.
so I think I would guess from that it was probably Kino playing a Claymore that cameraman used to play. You know, when he was on M80, that was probably his job to put that Claymore down, so he's probably kind of finding it quite funny.
And didn't tell G2 about that claim.
Exactly, that G2 have then got picked up by that Claymore. But look, credit to M80 where it's due. Good round from them. It was looking tough. They took a couple of losses. They had a couple on low health. They lost Packer down there to the impact nade. G2 really should have won that round, Des, from that position. They were 3 versus 2, and they kind of had them on the ropes, but Diffuser and Kino got in there and got that Diffuser down and did a great job.
They did, and understandably G2 now. I spoke about it back on the first map. After 3 rounds, you said a quarter go by, you played through 3 sites. That's the best time to take a time out, even if you find yourself winning the 3rd round, as M80 did back on the previous map. G2 here clearly not happy. They've dropped 2 defenses inside the first 3. This last one, as you said, Tim, I think was what this moment here, I was like, they're in a 3 versus 2. They know where they're pushing in from. They've got rid of the shield. Like, there's not much more that you need. Knowing the other side has got to get a plant down, but G2 left the door wide open. They'll be kicking themselves to that, and you could see it in the very muted reactions and faces of the G2 lineup. They've got to change some things around here. Otherwise, Tim, that map 3 starts to encroach upon us.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of panic from G2 in that final situation as well. Kind of, you know, running around site, trying to get an impact onto that plant, but not knowing that Diffuser was hidden in. They just didn't really know everything that was going on. So, like I said, well played to M80, just creating that little bit of chaos and that little bit of space that they needed to put that Diffuser down. So that leads us nicely into round 4. G2, they're going to head back up to the top floor once again. We saw this back in round 1. They were unsuccessful. M80 looked pretty good attacking this site. They made it very, very difficult for G2 to hold any of the positions or any of the map control that they wanted to. So for me, M80, don't complicate it. More of the same. However, I'm looking at the lineup. It's changed. We've got Packer. This time, instead of the Blitz, he worked so well with Spoit last time, but this time he's brought along the Habana. Kino's on the Blitz. Spoit's moved across onto the Sense.
You got gun on the Deimos now, and we're dropping away, like bringing in the Dokkaebi as well here for Diffuser. I think Dokkaebi's like ridiculous as an operator. Like BDS are a team that I think of. There's a reason why they're so successful, and I honestly think teams would benefit more from banning that operator away against them. And if Diffuser plays it right in this round, you'll just see exactly why. It enables you to clear in so effectively in the early stages of a round and clear out roamers. It lets you execute really well. It's just free information for your whole team when they're trying to make a play happen. I think it's an incredible operator, as do many many teams, but maybe haven't seen it enough so far throughout the competition. But saying that, man was right in front of you. You heard his phone and you still got your gun down. You're paying the price for it. And Lair has absolutely collapsed onto 2 players of M80. Alamau finding 1 and G2 putting up a very stiff front here and giving nothing over to the North American side.
Spoit just using the new functionality of that light screen from Sense there, able to put it up and down at will, just puts it down, has a peek, sees a man, puts it back up, but ultimately all it did was really reveal his position in behind that utility, and G2 were able to mop up the end of the round beautifully. That was just a complete contrast from what we saw in round 1. G2 super comfortable. Diffuser tried to get things moving, tried to get aggressive through ops with the Dokkaebi, and it was like the first in a house of cards that came tumbling down at that point. As soon as the Dokkaebi went down, G2 I think had an idea we don't really need to worry about upside anymore, and they were just able to focus elsewhere and take everybody down.
I mean, Alamau's letting him know, but Packer is now 0 and 11 across our 2 maps. It has not been the start that he wanted. But I'll highlight, it doesn't come down, yeah, you focus all you like on the player that hasn't got a kill so far, but I think across the team as mentioned...
He is IGL.
He's, like, that's an excuse, Tim. Alamau was the second best in the world, despite being an IGL, mate.
He's IGL, Des. Des is IGL.
Fantastic, guys. Thanks.
The
thing is, in case you're wondering why, they're not doing this for a bit of fun. They are concealing these 2 operators away. They don't want them being droned out, and then as soon as we hit 0, and it's about time that the attackers can do nothing about it, they'll bring out the Kaid and the Tubarão, and they'll really look to lock things down, because no Thatcher on side. Now, it make this a little bit frustrating for the attackers to deal with.
Not only no Thatcher, but no pocket EMPs either. You know, Dokkaebi does have them available, I think, and not going to be brought along. So, like you say, it's going to give that Kaid a real opportunity. And this is, again, if you remember a couple of rounds ago, I said G2, they just need to create as many problems for M80 to solve as possible, because I think that's where M80 are going to struggle. We saw a great performance from them round 1 when they were able to just walk in, everything went to plan, no problem, we get through it. For me, Packer is obviously the new player coming in there. He's IGLing, put some pressure on him, focus on him, give them problems to solve, make them adapt. Let's really test that IGLing skill. Let's really test how much he can think on his feet for the team.
It's more than just Packer is the problem. Again, we've seen the best come out of these guys in the early parts of this map, I thought was with Packer at the helm on the shield, and a gunner coming in behind him, mainly Spoit in this case, the one that was walking a few kills back in that first round. In fact, for Spoit, got a 3K back in round 1, haven't seen him on the board since then. So it's definitely fair to say you've seen that drop off from M80. And yes, you might say they didn't deserve to win round 3 and it should have been G2's round. I imagine G2 would agree, they could be up 3-1 here.
Just going to have a little bit of hard breach going on from that external side. Again, just looking to pressure that top floor, which was something that M80 failed to do previously, but need to be cautious, of course, because the Valkyrie cams are up there, and there's 4 nitros on the side of G2. They are absolutely begging for an opportunity to get a vertical kill going on. They know that there's going to be some attention coming down these stairs. Interestingly, we see Tubarão just trying to use that canister to create difficulty coming down those stairs, but he's unable to and does get punished. Uno, however, picks up Gunner in return, 4 versus 4.
Getting rid of the Dokkaebi again, massive for them. Gunner just keeps on falling at these random points in the round where he hasn't had a chance. Think about the round, it's been the Dokkaebi here as well. Kino marches onto a 3K2 for himself in the mid-round, explodes out. M80 surely can't lose this, Tim. They're in a 4 versus 2.
Surely they can't. I don't think they will. Packer goes in inside of the smoke, starts getting the diffuser down. Not much of an idea from G2. Even with the pulse underneath, they can do absolutely nothing to prevent it. That's diffuser down, and G2 now working against the clock and against the odds. Diffuser picks up Uno, and it is all up to the last man left alive. It's Alamau trying to get back up those stairs, but he was tracked as well. Deimos in an XV1 situation. Deimos is a nightmare because he just piles on the pressure with that track. And that's going to be another round for M80. Very even so far, I feel, on Lair.
Listen, bro,
Kino's really starting to fly. I think he's like 16 and 10 now as well. Not a player that you look at on this side, given history, and say, oh, he's the one who's going to carry him through. Like, all eyes came onto Gunner, onto Spoit, onto Diffuser for those kind of purposes. But Kino is definitely making himself heard, I think, in this series. Of course, didn't lead to anything for the team back in map 1. But at least here, he's starting to cook something a little bit special. Hopefully, the rest of the team can join him. Diffusers at 6 and 2. It's worth stressing too. You can see where these kills are coming from that are leading to the rounds for them. G2 not yet really seen a hero step up here on Lair, but I don't think they'll be too bothered to if they can get this next round and draw up a 3-3 half. timing on me finishing that as we had that little dun dun.
Dun, dun.
I tell you what, I was listening to the stream earlier, sat upstairs, and I heard it, and I was like, what is that? And I couldn't figure it out. And then when I sat and actually probably watched the stream, I was just like, oh, it's the transition, it's the stinger. Right, okay.
Here we go then. It's going to be the final defense for G2. Let's see if they can get themselves at least an even split here. Right now, I feel like M80 probably going to be feeling pretty good about this. It's their map pick. They've guaranteed themselves the 3. They can maybe even go 4-2 before moving on to the defense. Going to be certainly questions asked of the G2 attack. They're going to need to be coming in and doing a majority job on the half as an absolute minimum if they want to be winning this in regulation, but let's not talk about that overtime word just yet, as M80, I'm sure, will be looking to avoid it.
Don't say the line, Tim. I won't say it, just wait.
Would it be day 1 if it doesn't come out, Des?
I'm actually kind of disappointed today we just have 2-2-0s and that's our first day over.
We won't.
We shall see. We shall see. Over anything else on the M80 side, they really are sticking to this point of trying to make the blitz work. Leaning into it hard, but haven't really played around it as much sort of light show. Back in round 1, yeah, they caught G2 off guard, that's for granted. But since then, they've struggled to really bring it to the same effect. They haven't been able to stick a man behind the shield and have him march in and pick off isolated players because G2, one thing you saw back on Bank, they're very good at trading each other. And when one player's getting heat, there's another one nearby, happy to capitalize back the other way. And that's where I think M80 so far have been tripped up quite a few times, has been by that kind of counter-aggression away from G2 that means they've been a bit hesitant to make some of their moves happen. Here, though, they are pushing in, and in quite a few numbers, 4 of them, all jumping in around display and in around this mezzanine, trying to step their way forward to pick up what looks to be Blaz.
Packer gets caught in the goo mine there, has to go out of the window and back in, and he's just under too much pressure as Doki throws another one out there. He's trying to duck and dodge it, but he can't get out of the way, and ultimately, Doki's able to find the kill. That's a big loss for M80 as Kino goes down as well. You picked up on the power of the player so far. Uno, Lair, G2 are cruising towards a potential flawless round to close out the half. It's all up to Gunnar. Can he find his first kill? That's the only thing that he can do to stop this being flawless, to stop it being a punishment of a round. Even with the advantage, Des, he still gets rinsed on the hatch.
Second. Yeah.
He jumped in out with the blitz and just died.
I think we started off with
He's jumped and just died, He is. I saw him dancing like strafing back and forth.
He was trying to get out of the way of the goo mine.
I was like, well, now, because he was doing side to side, and I was like, well, now your feet are exposed, and Doki's going to pick you up for free, and that's exactly what happened.
This round, I want to play Smoke, not Tachanka, Ella, that should be good for us.
Play Ella instead of one by Willie.
Yeah.
Screams to me they want to try and slow G2 down as best they can.
And then for the next round, you guys can play maybe a mirror,
Yeah.
Like with the Clash too. They clash both rounds.
Clash both rounds.
You know what worries me a little bit?
Ella, it's all talking about deny, burnt out.
What worries me most is...
Make sure we're playing together.
Well, going into the second half of their map pick on defense, commonly teams will come in with their own lineups and what they want to play, their own setups, their own ideas.
They're playing reactive, Siege.
But the thing is, they're having to have Bodega tell them. They're taking the time out at the halfway point before we've even seen a single round of the second half, which to me just suggests that, at least from what Bodega's heard, the guys aren't talking enough. They aren't getting ideas because, again, they've tried to make Packer on the blitz work for 5 of those 6 rounds, and it's only worked for 1 team. Looking a bit lost, maybe, and that's why I'm worried now that a coach has to step in and say, okay, first 2 or 3 rounds, here's what I want you to play. You should be helping the guys to figure that out for themselves in a way. And I'm just a little bit nervous that maybe that newness of this team, again, not forgetting, 2 months or so together, there are going to be a lot of things like these now they're coming up against real stiff competition on land for the first time as a group. Means there's going to be a lot of things to figure out.
I think the problem that M80 have got as well at the minute is that G2 are now starting to feel good. They're starting to feel like things are rolling, things are clicking, they're getting those kills. Can they continue it on the attack? We'll see. But like I said, that as well to me suggests that M80 are just playing a little bit reactively here to what G2 are going to do, rather than thinking, this is our game plan. We're on defense now. We're in control of how this goes. Let them do the problem solving. It's like they're thinking, right, no, G2 are going to do this, so we have to bring the Ella, we need to bring the smoke, rather than thinking, look, this is our plan and this is what we're going for.
It's not a bad idea knowing that there's very likely to be a shield coming at your face, and sure enough, Uno is the one donning the blitz in this round and looking to apply a bit of pressure. That's exactly what the Ela is going to help with. Trying to undo unto G2 what has been done unto them with the Kite and the Tubarão as well, alongside the smoke and the clash. You can see it's all about keeping G2 out, but I come back to what I said back on Bank, Tim. I was like, okay, it's not your map pick. If you want to play Heavy Turtle, I get it, fine. I'm more concerned that on your own map pick, you're still playing that way, because you know, given G2 all the time and space, they will undo you, as they showed you back on Bank.
Packer just holding a tight angle with the SMG there, but they're giving themselves away, Des! Finding his man up through the hatch. It's going to be Alamo to open things out. Taking it down Spite. That goes the Ela, but at least the Guzmot mines will already be out. They'll be in position, so they don't lose too much in the utility sense, at least. Gunner gets himself on the board. Des takes down Alamo. Little bit of a late trade, but 4 versus 4 now. M80 not in too bad a position, but already having that smoke utility baited out of them at only the halfway mark.
Dragging it all out at this point, aren't they? As well, you're starting to see the Tubarão come out now as well. Of course, things like the Electroclaws have still got to be dealt with. But it's slightly worrying that they are already testing M80 quite early in the round. We're over halfway through now, though, coming down to the last 60 seconds or so. So this is where G2 are going to have to say, right, what we've got away with here is all well and good, but now we're going to have to start thinking about what our push into this map looks like. Making use of the Grim Bees as well to make it a little bit easier, swing to come on through. Not quite being pinned in here on a shield, Tim, in the same way that Packer was previously. And here comes the push forward. The flash comes out, and Packer is done. That is how you play the blitz, my friend.
Yeah, they've dealt with the smoke fantastically well, but Diffuser picking up Laz could be big there. It levels things up, 3v3, but they're aware, they're ready. Diffuser gets taken down, 2v2, 2v1 effectively, and it's the clash that's left. This just got so difficult for Kino. He's had a big game so far. He's going to have to go even bigger as Diffuser gets taken down. 25 seconds, Lair might need to take the opportunity to get the plant down here, though.
That's what they're really worried about, those forcing a 1 versus 1, and that's what it could become. Kino down to almost no HP, and Doki is feeling himself at 7 and 3. Equally so is Kino, the same scoreline, but the plant is down. The 2v1's back on side, and they don't get this one, Tim. What I love is about the middle of that round, their double swing from 2 players down on towards Rocket Stairs. This is like mid-execute when G2 are in full force and moving on forwards. They had so many 2v1s that they forced just really on the fly. It wasn't like a pre-planned thing. It's beautiful to watch.
Yes, E1, listen. Play with each other, calm with each other, and just, like, we can give them some of the map control. We just have to hard hold the spot. We give them everything.
That's not working out, though.
No, I was going to say, I'm not... I guess we'll see in the next couple of rounds, but G2 are feeling good at the minute. G2 are taking and winning fights. Giving them more, you don't kill a fire by putting wood on it, they've got to be careful about how much they give G2 here.
I said it back on Bank. I said it this map a few times already. They're playing super defensive. And on Bank, I could understand it because it's not... Alamau is definitely trying to get in his head here. Big time in the chat. But the big... Stop it, guys. Jesus. But the big point comes back to... They keep on, as we've said, playing really turtle comps. And Packer's even saying, no, keep doing it. Just hard hold a part of the map. G2 have shown that they can abuse that, though, if you do it. They're happy to say, cool, we'll take loads of the map. And then when we feel like we can get like a 2 or 3 man squeeze onto the one part of the map you are holding, look at what happens. And what I don't like is, like, you hear this quite a lot. It's, it's got to play more as a team. Like, what does that mean? Like, how do you want your team to interpret that? And I'd love a little bit more direction out of Packer there on what it is that he wants the team to be doing. Because whatever he's been doing for the last map and a half has clearly not worked in their favour. Sadly, they are crumbling here, and I just don't see a way for M80 to get through unless they try something different.
Yeah, I think, much the same as I said for G2 on defense, I'd kind of like to see M80 take the fight to G2 here. Like I said, I feel like they're playing a little bit reactively. In that last round, we heard them talking about, right, make sure we're bringing this, slow them down, bring the Ela, that's what they've been doing. And I just feel like, say, no, this is how we're going to play it. We're going to get aggressive, we're going to get up in their faces, let's make them do something here, let's make them win the round. They kind of go in the other direction with, let's not fight them too much, let's, we can give them the control, let them sort of have to come and fight us, and I don't know, I think G2 are just a little bit too sharp for that at the minute. I think we might see M80 getting punished quite quickly.
It does feel like this one could be over before you know it. 2 or 3 more rounds, and G2 could have that 2-0 they're looking for. We mentioned it back early on in Bank. But every map win counts. If M80 lose 2-0 here, they walk away with nothing. G2 walk away with the lion's share, 4 points themselves. And that can put you in real dangerous stead when it starts coming around to the end of the group. Diffuser falling down here, Doki onto the entry. I tell you what, Tim, I was looking at it earlier on. G2, I think, have only lost 2 entries so far on this map, and Doki is cooking something. 9 and 3 is now up to.
As expected.
They've got sight.
G2 have been given too much.
Just turtle up, guys, it's fine.
They've taken full advantage of it, and, you know, we heard them coming into it. We don't have to fight, just, you know...
How's he got away with that?
Give them the mat. It's no problem. It is a problem, because right now, G2 are feeling great. They're on top of it, and they're going to punish you. If you give them something, they're going to take it. 2v2, M80 on a little bit of a fight back here, but now it's once again Kino on the clash, last alive, and it's difficult. He's going to get spun round on the spot, taken out. Great finish from G2. They were given more, Des, and they took it and ate it up.
They're making it look a bit too easy here. Not really much to be said, I think, on the side of M80. I know that they were talking again during the tack timeout, like, cool guys, tighten up, play together. They've had 3 on top, they've had 2 on site, and G2 have just gone, cool, I guess we'll take site. And there was no vertical cover coming on through. This is what they mean probably by playing together, is that sync is just missing a little bit. It's not looking great for them, and Alamau is still laying it on thick at Packer. 0 and 14, 0 and 15. He is losing count, I think, as we all are at this point, Tim. I think he's down to 0 and 14. It's been a rough first game for him on land with this team, and it's
the thing is
to get it better anytime soon.
You know, as you know, I'm the first to defend and say, you know, I know I said it earlier, I'm not saying now, look, it's fine, 0-14. The point is, to a degree, you expect less out of your IGL and support players in those terms. But the reality is...
But you don't expect 0 and 14.
The reality is, in Modern Siege, you got to have a contribution. Yeah. It can't be to that degree that you expect less from them. You know, yes, you expect a little bit less from them, but in Modern Siege, you've still got to be in the mix. You've still got to be, you know, getting close to an even KD maybe as you can as that support player. No, it's not okay. It's gone out of hand, I think, for M80 now, and it's certainly starting to take its toll. 5v3 G2, you know, let's not just focus on the negative there. Let's look at how good G2 have been. You know, like you said, quick decision-making, opportunity spotting. It was something that Leo picked up on. You know, that used to be how they played with Alamau. You know, was it going to be as good? Were they going to take those opportunities without Alamau being the IGL and doing that? And the answer is yes, they are. When the chances are there, we saw it. There's 2 on site. Right, bang, go. Opportunity spotted, opportunity taken. Great stuff from G2, but all around just feeling more stable, more secure as well.
A little bit of threat being put through the mass wall here, not fully opened up as you can see, but enough just to remind them, hey, we could come this way, we could make use of those Maverick holes and make your life hell. So Sport's got to be careful playing around this part of the map, that future pressure doesn't start building on through. But it's the same story as before, Tim. The problem is M80 sat relatively static here, and for G2, they can just take their time, get the drones in, get control of the parts of the map they need, and then flood site at the right time and overwhelm M80. It's worked for them every round so far. Why fix what ain't broken?
Diffuser's just looking to take the fight to G2 a little bit. Here's the barricade opening up, so you know what? I'll go and pop my face in it. I'll have a look, and he gets his reward. Kino, Diffuser Kino, been doing great work for M80 so far. Gunner gets in on the mix, 5v2, and this round is pretty much done as Diffuser picks up Blaz. It's going to be all down to Uno. He is just backed up inside of Ops at the minute, looking for any opportunity he can. 1 minute 15. The best thing he can do right now is wait and see if M80 get carried away, if they want to give him a cheap kill or 2. M80, by contrast, just keep yourself out of the way. You know that he isn't going to get the round 1, almost certainly, so you don't need to give him the opportunity to pad those stats.
What I do like is actually how... I was saying I was worried about them being more dug in, that they're quite static, but the player downstairs around Rocket, undroned by G2. And then they had 3 players all trying to push in towards bathroom and around display side, not even wanting to let G2 inside the building. As you said so many times, if you let G2 and if you let them get set up, that's when they will roll over you. So fair play to M80. They've gone a bit more aggressive. They've challenged G2 when they know they've got a numbers advantage and come away the winner.
And this is what I said when we heard M80 say, let's give them a bit more of the map. I'm thinking, no, get up in their face, take the fight to them. You're on the back foot here. Best of 3, you lose this, you've lost the whole thing. Get out there. And it's just shown when they did, it put G2 on the back foot. They won the gunfights, the confidence helped them, and G2 struggled with the round. So M80, for me, learned from that. keep it going, keep up in their faces, keep it difficult for them to get in the map.
What I will say is, I didn't realize this happened before, but Doki being the one that went down the rocket stairs there, if he doesn't die, you didn't have the Fenrir coming from underneath to take him out. It was down to a drone that they actually managed to find him, and I was like, what's that all about? If he walks up the top of Mez there and gets a kill or two and opens up the long corridor down towards display, M80 probably get completely cleaned out, and we're sat here having the same conversation, being like, guys, you've done the same thing again. You've let G2 in, you've let them open you up. But I think because Doki paused on those rocket stairs, that's what gave M80 the time and space to react and what got the kills they needed. Not to take away from them, they spotted the opportunity, they got the kills they needed. But I think that probably more came down to G2 not quite being as pacey as what we've seen them be so far.
Let's see how much G2 adapt here. Doki, I'm sure, going to be cautious. I was going to say he's not going to be opening up that top line of sight. We know that. They've got the thermite on side. Uno will get this breach going, and it will be opened up immediately. So that's really interesting. We've got this site that we've had a couple of times played now with that vertical presence. They've got everything opened up here, so no excuses for M80. They should have everything they need. And G2, they've opened the breach into sight, so they've got the access that they need. But by contrast to when M80 tried this, G2 this time are going for that top floor clearance, I think. We saw the shield up there, looking to start pushing across. Alamau looking to just bully those top floor players before G2 try to go into sight. They understand in which order things need to be done.
They know they won't get away with a rush again, essentially. They do have to play it more, air quotes, by the book, right? So I completely agree. Nothing else, having the walls opened up, though, gives that bit of pressure on site. It means for M80, it's not a safe place to pull back into. Kino, though, has had a couple of rounds here where he's getting busy, but Uno is in, and he's planting the same spot as last time. But, Tim, they haven't learnt their lesson.
Blaz was just doing some work there to protect that vertical so that they could get the diffuser down. But can M80 use the weight and numbers they've got in a 5v3 to create the space to get on and disable that diffuser? It's up to G2 now to try and hold this maybe from above. Doki manages to pick up Packer. Blaz was playing above. He takes a little bit of damage from a goo mine, but Doki goes big, finds himself another 2 and brings it back to a 2v2. This is winnable for G2 nowadays.
Well, Doki in spot is having one hell of a map at 12 and 5. Can't quite find the next. It's down to Blaz. Can he find his man? He sees the backpack, puts him on his bum, and that's the one done, Tim. There's not enough time left. They'll close this one out, and G2 will move up to map point, but it was pretty close.
Blaz was so important in that attack, and we actually saw very little from him. But when Uno was planting, there was a vertical that we just saw Blaz use that potentially seized down onto that plant spot. But Blaz was constantly challenging from the stairs and just preventing M80. So rather than take the whole of the top floor, you know what? We're just going to make it impossible for you to play that one vertical that you need to. And it was Blaz that got that job done. And then he was smart enough to stay upstairs as well. I'm not going to go down and try to support on site. Even though players are dying, I'm going to keep the high ground. I'm going to keep the vertical, and I'm going to win the round for us. Really well played from Blaz particularly, but G2 on the whole as well.
And it took Packer going up to 0 and 14 to activate the superpower. Came on with a 2K in the round as well. Ultimately didn't change the outcome, but just G2 are very happy to let him know in all chat he is now indeed on the board. These 2 that he found, not bad start, but I think the problem is Doki, when he's on Tim, he is on fire. So much that he got achieved in this round as well, and ultimately...
He takes a gamble here. It's a big gamble, but it pays off. Absolutely beautiful stuff. That's round winning.
I have seen this happen. This has happened so many times, though, where G2 have just blinds. Think about Uno, for example, on Copy back on Bank. After he dropped through, moved his way around towards Copy, walked to 3K. There was no real call on where he was. That wasn't far off the same thing, where they should know the breach is open. There is a very good chance there is someone outside, but not a soul is watching it. Miscommunication.
Yeah, it's an interesting contrast, because if we remember back on Bank, we were critical of Diffuser dropping the hatch and going for the double kill when he thought that there was a revive going on. Doki dives inside a site there and gets 2K. If he doesn't get those 2 kills, we're probably going to be just as critical of that over-aggression, because then Blaz is 1v4. It doesn't matter if he's got the vertical, he's still going to lose it. They're going to be able to get the disable down. So it was a big risk from Doki. It was a big gamble, but boy, did it pay off. He just, again, is playing with that confidence, and he feels that that opportunity is going to present itself for him. And there was just a little bit of chaos in the ranks for M80. I don't think, you know, with 4 of them, they were kind of just caught running round a little bit.
A lot of map geometry short-term supporting Doki's push in there is the thing, though. But I get the point you're making. Look at this. M80 with 2 quick kills. They've realised G2 are coming in for, dare I say, a bit of a rush, and they have woken up. Gunner especially. Bit of praise on him. He was down at, what, 0-7 earlier? We were concerned about him. He has risen back up to 7-9 here. Really putting on a show, but is it enough to get his team to overtime? Doki's going down as well. And this time round, it feels like M80 will hold.
Yeah, able to use the verticals a lot better as well. Doki going in there. It was Kino underneath that actually took him out. And he could find Alamar having the same problem here because you can see Kino's still underneath. He's just going to stand and watch that door. Sorry, it's Packer, I think. No, it was Kino. It was Kino on the shotgun underneath. Gunnar ultimately picks up the final kill, but that was really good from M80. That was really, really nice. They just got, again, aggressive early round, got a couple of kills and just break the attack of G2 before it can get running.
It's where they found success, being more aggressive like that. Believe it or not, as dominant as this has felt towards G2, Tim, we are now staring at 6-5. It's doable for M80. If they manage to pull this map back and go on to win this third map, it would be crazy, given how dominant G2 have looked throughout.
Oh yeah, it really would. It'd be a huge turnaround, that much is for sure. G2 definitely could do with, I think, knuckling down and getting this one. They don't want this to go to overtime because M80 should have the choice of sides then and may well have an advantage. And like you say, all of a sudden when you feel like you've been really on top of things, you're going into map 3 and it could be a tough one. But G2, they will have what will be their final attacking opportunity of regulation time coming up. It's going to be onto the top floor again this time, and we will see. There's going to be no blitz for them to play behind, so they're not going to be using that operator to create space like they have done previously. This time we're going to have the Grim being brought along, who will try to do a similar job, create that space, prevent swings, force players out of position, and the plan for G2 will be to take ground when that happens and potentially pick up a kill or two.
Potentially. We'll say with a couple of players on the side of M80 starting to wake into this game. You know, Diffuser and Kino we were spoken about, but Gunnar's the one who started to get himself back on side here. Spoit a little bit of a ghost, it feels like, on this map so far. I believe it was the 3K we spoke about very early on, and since then, really nothing. A couple of kills going 2-7 in that time frame. Got to see him really start getting activated here. He's that star boy on the team that we know can work absolute wonders. I mentioned it earlier on, but across all the major regions, second highest rated player around the world, second only to Volts, who we get to see play in our last game of the day here on the A stream. For G2, they want this done now, and they don't want to give it a chance of seeing M80 carry into overtime. I mean, that's one way of definitely giving the game away, I guess. Boys, I get the aggression, but there's a level of aggression to consider in this.
Doki was well aware of, I think he maybe heard the barricade being pulled down there and just put 2 and 2 together, got himself back into position, and Gunnar just punished far too easily there. That is when you're at match point, that is a big risk to be getting so far outside of there. I think he was hoping for maybe somebody on the ops rappel or something, maybe on the stairs that he could pick up, but he gets caught out quite easily there, and that gives G2 a big advantage. It also locks those FNATs in as well, so whichever were activated will be the ones that remain activated. G2 could potentially use that to their advantage as well by alternating, moving, adapting their attack and going from another angle if they see an open avenue.
They've seen that early aggression, now kind of gone, cool, we're 5v4, we don't have to go nuts ourselves as G2 here. Let's see what they want to do to us. Do they want to go aggressive and cause any chaos? That's completely fine. But they're baiting out utility. You've seen smokes, you've seen goo mines around that display window, and now G2's march begins. They've got display completely locked off, which has let Mez be taken over by Alamar and Doki, and they've got the push coming in.
Spoit's the problem at the minute. He's in behind the desk, and G2 just can't clear him. Uno is stood on the breach, but he just can't move inside until Spoit has been cleared away. That is going to do the job, though, surely, as kills come in one after another. Rather than trying to get Uno on in to get that plant down, G2 say, you know what, let's just collapse on in, let's get aggressive, the opportunity's there, we've got the man advantage, we'll find the kills, and that is G2 2-0.
That second one getting maybe a bit closer than they'd like, but I think many will look back at this series and just remember a great showing from G2. Sure, not flawless. Is it going to win you a title like that? Maybe not, but it was enough to get the 2-0 and get those 4 points that we were speaking about. Especially on Bank, I'm really encouraged by what we've seen from G2. They just look like a team that's got their crap together.
We got to remember as well, this is day one. This is the starting point. This is the foundation for these teams. So teams that are coming in and looking pretty good now, but we're saying, oh, well, you know, maybe they could sharpen up here or sharpen up there. That will happen over the next few days. The more that they scrim, the more competitive games that they play, all of these teams will grow into this tournament. And G2 coming out with a really solid win in what could have been a very difficult opening game. That's a great start for the EU side.
There is, and all smiles at the end of the day as well. They know it's been a rough showing, but Packer, smiles, we're still shaking hands at the end. All is said and done. With that, though, we've got to see more coming out of M80 for G2. A lot of promise. I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do in the coming days as well. For now, though, we'll go to a break, and when we come back, the desk will have loads to break down from this series.